What does it take to be a lawmaker? They call them honorables. Sometimes it could be glamorous, and some other times noble. But when it gets ugly, it often begins like this. Then hotter and emotional. If you're lucky, you will see this sort of acrobatics. And sometimes a jumping game. The symbol of authority, the mace often is used as a weapon, but others use their fists. And you see the honorable members half-clad or with torn clothing. Not a good sight though. If you want to be a lawmaker, you might consider some training in self-defense.
Interesting sight, I must say. Well, that's one of the things that interests you, that you see most of the times on TV for the lawmakers. Interesting indeed. Well, let's continue with the conversation now. Chief Dele Momodu, a former presidential candidate of the NCP, joins me now to look at this issue of the budget. Many thanks for coming on the program, Chief Dele Momodu.
Thank you for inviting me, Shehu.
You saw the budget. In between the 4-month space, I've talked to you about this issue on the program, and one would be wondering, why did we see that large scale of politicking and the large scale of weeds thrown into that race?
Well, I would say that wherever money is involved, a lot of politicking must take place. The budget of every nation is usually the lifeline for the people. Unfortunately, for so long, we've had too many budgets, and every year it has become like a ritual. When you say Happy New Year, and you expect that in the new year all your problems will disappear. But the budget comes, you hear all the big figures, and then before you know it, another budget has arrived, and nothing tangible has come out of the previous one. So the first thing we must realize is that President Buhari is a very careful person. People accuse him sometimes of being too careful. He is a man who has taken his integrity to come back to power. In fact, if there is one thing that worked for him, it is that integrity. So naturally, he would want to protect it with everything. But unfortunately, on the other hand, Nigerians are very desperate. Nigerians are going through trying times, and so they want some quick action. So my advice, and I always do this every Saturday as much as possible, is the APC ruling government must strike a balance between being meticulous and being active. I think that is the biggest problem we have. Fortunately for them, they control the National Assembly, and I thought whatever happened, they should have been able to do something about the budget faster.
That's what many Nigerians would think also, that they control the executive, they control the National Assembly. But it doesn't look like that, because at the end of the day, we see so much disagreement within the party.
It's all, like I said, it's still all about money. If you speak to people on the side of the executive, and I did talk to a couple of people who should know, they will put all the blames on the National Assembly, they are trying to frustrate us. If you talk to National Assembly, those on that side will tell you, that the executive is trying to make them look bad. So it's something that the APC government will have to address very quickly. They must put their house in order. Nigerians are not interested at this stage in politics or in campaign after election. Nigerians want action. And I pray that they will be able to give us that action now that this
Chief
budget has
Momodu,
been
you
passed.
heard what Senator Mamora said, that the campaign and the promises and the realities seems to be different. When they came into power, it looks so much that what they met on the ground is quite different from what they intended.
Yes, I agree with him. That is not peculiar to Nigeria. If you followed the American elections when Obama was running for the first time, a lot of the things he promised, he himself, after nearly 8 years, would admit that he has not been able to do everything. That happens. For example, I'm sure no one envisaged the scale of the rot in our society. We knew things were bad, but each time I open the newspapers in Nigeria, it's like I'm reading novels. It's like thrillers. And I'm sure the president and his team must be gravely alarmed. But despite that, I would advise that we stop worrying about what has been destroyed and now begin to work harder for what can be restored.
One trend that we have seen is that the APC perhaps have not delivered in a few at some point, and they've come forward to apologize to Nigerians. Now, the process of the budget passage is perhaps over now, and we'll be looking at implementation. Nigerians, do you think they are patient enough to get some other apologies? Do you think that will happen?
For me, whether the government apologizes or not, that is not the issue. The issue is that in about 20 days or less, this government would have spent 1 year in power. So let's begin to see a sense of urgency and a sense of purpose. Nigerians, trust me, are not too difficult to govern. Once they begin to see action, once they begin to see movement, it's not just about motion and no movement, but once we begin to see those things happen, I'm sure Nigerians will be willing.
The president said that he's not disconnected with what is happening in Nigeria, but with the situation, does it look like so?
I think, as I've said, we all have our individual styles. There are people who like to start very fast at the beginning, and there are people who want to watch where they are going, and then they pick up with time. I believe he will pick up. I've had the privilege and opportunity of at least meeting him once, and one thing you can never take away from him is the fact that he loves his country. Maybe he loves the country too much. Sometimes maybe he worries too much when he shouldn't. But the truth is, I believe he has the capacity, he has the people. It's just for him to set them free.
Largely, when you run a government, you run it as a president on the platform of a political party, on a political platform in most cases. And when we wonder that, does the president have the control of the political space in which he's running on?
Oh, I think so. I mean, there is no question about that. Everybody defers to the president. One thing you must say about the APC is that maybe they are even too afraid of the president. Is it because when you have a man...
And the ministers too, some commentaries have come that they probably...
I've heard that, and even I've written about it, that people are complaining that the ministers are afraid, or maybe they don't have enough access to him. One thing I can assure you is that the president reads. And I'm sure, and I've listened to a couple of his comments in the last few days, I can see that he's getting the hit, he's feeling it, and he's reacting positively, and I hope we would achieve something tangible from his response.
I mean, there are a lot of things that we have seen: the issue of fighting corruption, the running of the party, the National Assembly leadership, and all of that. People have said that some people have been witch hunted, but in the way things have played out, do you see that some elements in the ruling APC really and truly have the loyalty and that Nigeria in their hearts in some of their actions?
Well, my attitude to it and the advice I've given is that APC will have to put its house in order. There is too much infighting going on at the moment, and Nigerians are not interested in that. Nigerians are interested in good governance. If anybody has any problems, I mean, the laws of Nigeria are big enough to take care of that. But we want to see that the ministers who have been given specific responsibilities are allowed to function, and they can function, and they are functioning, and Nigeria is functioning.